This week's session is on SWOT analysis. A scan of the internal and external environment is an important part of the strategic planning process for your project. This is done on an organizational-wide scale and involves data gathering through surveys using email, web-based forms, face-to-face interviews, and such. While this is not a requirement for this class, organizations should do this prior to performing the SWOT on a project. So after the environmental scan of the organization is complete and you have the resultant data in your possession, it is time to perform the SWOT for your project. Remember, an environmental scan of the organization is the first step, but it is not a requirement for your project. Environmental factors internal to the organization can be classified as strengths or weaknesses, and those external to the organization as opportunities or threats. This environmental scan information is used to perform your SWOT analysis. This analysis provides information that is helpful in matching the organization's resources and capabilities to the competitive environment in which it operates. So it's very important in your overall strategy and selection process for your project. So let's look at the individual components of the SWOT. The first one is strengths. These are internal and positive to the organization. An organization's strengths are its resources and capabilities. They are attributes of the project team that are helpful to achieving the project's objectives. Here's where you will develop a list of your team's strengths as they pertain to your project. Examples of strengths could include an experienced staff or good employee training program. They could also be personal attributes of your team. Now let's look at weaknesses. These are internal again, but negative to the organization. Here's where you're going to repeat the process you used to identify strengths to generate a list of your team's weaknesses as they pertain to your project. Weaknesses, again, are internal factors that may impact workforce planning negatively. Examples of weaknesses could include an absence of procedural manuals or a lack of employee mentoring program. It is possible that a strength could also be a weakness. For example, long-time employees could be a strength because of their experience, but may also be a weakness because it might indicate a workforce close to retirement. It depends on the project if they are considered a strength or a weakness. And now those factors that are external to the organization. Opportunities. They're external and positive to the organization. Here again, you're going to repeat the process to list opportunities. These are external factors as opposed to internal factors of strengths and weaknesses. Opportunities could include maybe a new relevant training program at an educational institution, or maybe an emerging diverse workforce. They could be an unfulfilled customer need, new technologies, loosening regulations, removal of trade barriers. They are external to the organization, but reveal themselves as opportunities for growth. Opportunities again come from external to the organization and are positive. And finally, threats. Threats are external but negative to the organization, have a connotation.
They are external factors. Threats could have a negative impact on your workforce planning. They could include a projected increase in the cost of employee health insurance because the provider has raised rates, maybe due to government intervention or maybe an expected reduction in government funding. Again, it is possible that an opportunity may also be perceived as a threat. For example, new technology tools might be an opportunity, but also threaten staffing levels. Threats are also external to the organization and must be realized as something that could keep your project from being successful. Keep these in mind when you think of risk in your project. Things such as shifts in consumer wants and needs, substitute products, new regulations, increased trade barriers could negatively affect your project.
Let's take a look at some of the examples of how different organizations have used SWOT. This file is on your blackboard, and it gives quite a few examples of SWOT analyses. This first one is from an employee relations department. Let's look at some of the strengths in this case. A strength as far as an employee relations department could be existence of previous strategic human resources planning efforts and offers several innovative solutions. They would consider this a strength. Another strength could be to improve human resource activities that are available. Another strength, they have an experienced workforce dedicated to the mission. Employees feel a part of the team. So these would be considered strengths in an employee relations SWOT analysis. And in this case, they have gathered all this information through their environmental scan and categorized it into strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So these strengths are positive and internal to the organization. So let's look at weaknesses now. Weaknesses, again, are internal to the organization, but are listed as negatives. What they found is there's a failure to communicate formally and informally. There's no continual evaluation and updating of HR practices. There's lack of accountability. So through their environmental scan, they have found these as weaknesses to their organization. Let's look at items that are opportunities in this case. Now these are external to the organization, but positives. In this case, personnel is allowing for more creative and flexible options, such as compensation and staffing. Advanced technologies are available. Availability of information about best practices. So these are opportunities, external. Let's look at some threats now. Threats are external to the organization, but could have a negative impact on your project. There's maybe constraints imposed by legislature. Government is moving toward privatization. Other organizations may attract employees and business away from us. So this would be an example of a SWOT for an employee relations department. There's quite a few in this document, but I just want one more down towards the bottom here.
Something that we're probably all familiar with, and that's Starbucks. Starbucks conducted a SWOT analysis in 2004, an environmental scan, and a resultant SWOT. So in this case, they list their strengths as they're a very profitable organization. They have a global coffee brand, good reputation for fine products and services. They are a Fortune Top 100 company. In this case, it was in 2005. They have a strong ethical value and an ethical mission statement. They consider these as strengths, internal, positives to their organization. Let's look at what they found to be weaknesses, internal to the organization again, but negatives. They do have a reputation for new product development and creativity, but remain vulnerable to the possibility that their innovation may falter over time. They consider this a weakness. Organization has a strong presence in the United States, but it's often argued they need to look for a portfolio of countries in order to spread business risk. From what I understand, they have actually done this, and they are in foreign countries now. So they consider this a weakness and external to the organization. Finally, their organization is dependent upon a main competitive advantage, the retail of coffee. This could make them slow to diversify into other sectors should the need arise. So they found this as a weakness. But from what I understand, you can find Starbucks now in department stores such as Target and other places. So they have co-branded with other institutions now. So they actually used the result of this SWOT to improve their business. So there again, internal strengths are positive, internal weaknesses are negative. Let's look at what they consider opportunities now. They feel they're very good at taking advantage of opportunities. They created a CD burning service. That was an opportunity they saw. New products and services can be retailed in their cafes. Company has an opportunity to expand its global operations. I think we mentioned that. Co-branding with other manufacturers. I think you can find Starbucks coffee in grocery stores now. So these were opportunities they felt they could go after when they conducted the environmental scan. So these are, again, positives external to the organization. Threats, again, are negative to the organization, but external to the organization. So they considered threats as, who knows if the market for coffee will grow and stay in favor with customers, or whether another type of beverage or leisure activity will replace coffee in the future. Going to Starbucks is just as much a social opportunity or social gathering as it is for the product itself. It's where people meet. Starbucks, they are exposed to the rising cost in coffee and dairy products. We've seen that fluctuate now as the increase in coffee has occurred as a commodity. Since its conception in Pike Place Market in Seattle, Starbucks' success has led to the market entry of many competitors and copycat brands that pose potential threats. You see these types of internet cafes on just about every street corner now. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples and kind of look at those in this particular document, and you can read through those also. This was, like I say, this document is in your Blackboard site. Let's go back to the presentation once. So it's time for you to conduct your SWOT of your team, taking into consideration the product you have chosen, or the project you have chosen. So as you develop your project strategy, you need to develop that SWOT profile. I do have a blank matrix tool that I've created on Blackboard site. So what I'd like to do is just go ahead and show you exactly where these documents are. Okay, so let's go to the resources and materials and go to SWOT templates, and here's the blank SWOT form. There's the examples that I just referred to, and this file is simply a worksheet or an information sheet explaining SWOT analysis. So if we simply open this up now, in this case I'm going to open it in a new window. You would actually save the target and then open it. But from here you can use this now. It's simply a Word document, or I have this is the SWOT analysis matrix listing your positives, internal factors as strengths, opportunities as strengths with external factors, and then negatives as weaknesses and internally, and threats as weaknesses externally. So this is the worksheet that you can use as you go through and perform the SWOT analysis for your team as it regards your project. So there again, you take into consideration the factors of the organization and the talents and experience of your team. That's all for now, and I will talk to you again more next week on the next tool.